All right, we have some breaking news out of college football where Michigan has fired head coach Sherrone Moore with cause. Michigan AD Warde Manuel released a statement on the matter saying, quote, following a university investigation, credible evidence was found that Coach Moore engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. This constitutes a clear violation of university policy. End quote. Moore, he's been the head coach of the Wolverines for the past 2 seasons, tallying a 16-8 record. But that big breaking news here that Michigan has fired Sherrone Moore with cause. All right, let's welcome 247 Sports' the Michigan insider Sam Webb joining us here as we were just learning about this breaking news. So, Sam, what are you hearing about how this news is being received, all of it going down in Ann Arbor?
Disappointment, I think, is the overriding theme of the feeling from the AD's office. I don't think that the feeling, the sentiment from within the building is complete. I think there's shock from the standpoint of the suddenness of his removal. I think you have to rewind the tape a little bit as far as the allegations are concerned. There have been rumors of a relationship for a while. I think you start there. But these rumors had been denied before and looked into before, and it was thought that the investigation, I won't call it a formal investigation, but the exploration of the rumors and the refutation of the rumors had sort of resolved the issue. And I think because of that, because we had gotten to the point where you had moved past it, Sherrone had just hired a new assistant. As a matter of fact, he had just hired Kerry Coombs here in the past week as his new special teams coach, just completed a recruiting class, was well on his way to hiring another quarterbacks coach. So he was moving on business as usual. This is very sudden in its abruptness that he is out of job. I think that was the feeling that, okay, you had heard some things might have been going on, but because they had seemingly moved past it, you thought that it was over, that all was over and done with. So clearly something new was discovered. Some new evidence had come to light here in the past 24 hours that left Warde Manuel in the position that he was left with no choice but to remove Sherrone Moore from his post.
Yeah, and to your point, Michigan has been in the mix with scandal, whether it's Connor Stallions. Now this is something new that we're hearing about here. So in terms of Michigan's reputation, because yes, we know they got a national title, but even with that national title, what has this done to Michigan's reputation in your eyes with these two things happening over the past 3 years?
Yeah, I think I kind of draw a line with this and what happened with the on-field stuff. The allegations of cheating and competitive imbalance, that is impropriety. To me, this strikes a different chord, and it cuts different, and I think it hits different from an athletic director standpoint. I mean, when you talk about wanting your athletic department run in a different way, or run a certain way, and running a tight ship, I think this all falls in that line. But this also, I think, hits him in a different way, because you had a coach who has clearly lied to you. I know this had been addressed, and you had looked into it. And in the course of that investigation, you also had to look a coach in the eye, and in addition to you looking into it, have him tell you what you thought was the truth and get something other than that. And so I think the disappointment that comes from that, in addition to, there's some other overtones here or undertones here, that you have a black coach in a position that is not this is still a fairly unique position for a black coach to be in, and you fell victim to, not victim, but you ran into a a very clear, I think, pitfall that I think has some clear racial overtones. One that I think when you talk about a lot of the stereotypical things that people say about black coaches, they often attribute to black coaches. And here you fell into the stereotype. I think that is one of the things that kind of cuts deeper as well. So all of these things kind of, I think, strike a different chord, kind of cut a little deeper. And I think if you're Warde Manuel, leave you very, very disappointed in how this played out.
So, Sam, this is going to be Michigan's second head coaching search in the last 3 years. So who do you think, who comes to mind? What type of coach do you need to go out in terms of experience that can come back here and bring a sense of stability to Ann Arbor? There's been a lot of names thrown around, but you're there covering this team for a really long time. Yeah. So what names come to mind for you?
Yeah, it's a great question, Jacqueline. So, Sherrone was very much, I think, a beneficiary of being in the family, of being a member of a staff that had won a national championship. Had that not been the case, his inexperience, I think, would have, I think, eliminated him from consideration. But because he was under the umbrella already, because he was part of building the winning culture and winning the championship, it afforded him the opportunity to take over. Now that the slate is clean and you got a blank slate, I think you go out and you go and try to get one of the most experienced, if you can, sort of battle-tested and championship pedigree type of coaches out there. And I start with Kalen DeBoer. That would be the guy at the top of my wish list if I'm Michigan. That was a guy who, back when it was talked about, bandied about that Jim Harbaugh might be on his way out back in the championship year, Kalen DeBoer's name was mentioned very, very heavily when he was at Washington right before he headed to Alabama. No, they're a playoff team right now. No, it's not something that he is probably going to entertain overtly, but it is a tire that I would kick, and I would kick vigorously behind the scenes if I were the University of Michigan.
Sam, we certainly appreciate it joining us for this breaking news here on HQ, the first of many conversations that we're going to have in our coverage, where Sherrone Moore no longer the head coach at the University of Michigan, and getting a look at Michigan against ranked teams in the last 2 seasons, 3-6 against ranked versus 14-2 against unranked. Again, Sherrone Moore took over full-time as head coach in 2024.